Well, I was born in '71. I was born in Bloomington and moved up to Avon, Indiana, that area when I was 2, so I pretty much lived up there my whole life. But yeah, I went to Avon High School, me, Steve, John Stambro, Tim Maynor. We were all like a year apart, but we all went to the same school and didn't really probably hang out a lot back then, but we all knew of each other, and there wasn't very many people into racing at school. So, you know, it's always good to get home and work on some race cars.
Born here in Bloomington in 1967, and we moved to Avon 1975, so lived up there for quite a while.
I mean, I remember, as long as I can remember, going to Terre Haute in the infield. I mean, I busted my mouth with a baseball, playing in the infield, playing football, doing all that kind of stuff, and it got to where I kind of realized what was going on and getting older and getting to grow up watching guys like Tom Bigelow and Joe Saldana and Steve Chassie and guys like that. And then, yeah, so learned a lot, hanging around with Dad and going to all the different racetracks and places, and just even standing back and just listening. I mean, you learned a lot.
My dad started working for Bob Kinzer when I was young, going to races, and then Sheldon started driving for him, so just around it forever.
Well, I was in high school and graduated midterm, and so then Steve was working on the 56 Genesee Beer Sprint car full time, traveling all over the country with Danny Smith and Kenny Jacobs and guys. And the day after I graduated, I hit the road, and it's just me and Steve out traveling all over the country, getting to race a lot and work. And then probably I was 18 when I first got in a sprint car. So I started go-karts at 15, so I started late compared to today. But so yeah, so I got to run. The only time I got to race was when we were in town with Danny Smith, like it was an outlaw show or an all-star show. So I got to race like 7 or 8 times a year, which I wasn't really learning a lot because it was just so overwhelmed at the time. But it was probably about 3 or 4 years after that I got to when the 56 car stopped full time, and where I got to run continuous pretty much every weekend and started slowly getting better.
Yeah, just polishing wheels and cleaning parts and things like that, and then just graduated high school a half year early and went to Florida to start racing. I never did drive. I don't think I was ever brave enough to get in one, so I just always started helping my dad and then never did anything else. As soon as I graduated school, you know, we started traveling, and I always went to the IndyCar races with him, and he had a lot of great drivers, so got to be around some really good drivers through the years. I think anytime my dad's car won at the Hoosier 100, that was always kind of one of the bigger races. You know, it meant a lot back then, especially. A little bit later, Ricky Hood was driving the sprint car, and it was me, Ricky, and a mechanic that worked on the car, and he couldn't go for a trip. So me and Ricky went out through Colorado and North Dakota and South Dakota by ourselves, and that was a year graduated from school. That was a pretty big trip. There
was a lot. Like that was mine and Steve's car, and it was just me and him going every weekend. And we, like I said, ran mainly Bloomington and Putnamville. So that was our 2 tracks. We got out a little bit, but not very often. But I started out wing racing here at Bloomington, Lawrenceburg, and Hobstadt every week with wings back then. So then later on down the road, we tried non-wing and just stuck with that because of the travel and got to race a lot more. And that's kind of where Brayden's at now. He started out with wings and now doing this. But yeah, it was kind of back then running the USAC races. It was like kind of starstruck, you know, being a local guy, and then the USAC guys come in. And when I won the Sprint Week race, Sprint Week that year, probably about 8 or 10 SCRA guys came back, and they were here, Richard Griffin and Rip Williams and all them. So it was just kind of just to be on the track with them guys was pretty amazing. It just got to the point to where, you know, instead of looking forward to the weekend to get to go drive, I was like, I get to go drive, I gotta go drive. So it was time to, Brayden was 2 years old at the time, and I wanted to do stuff with him, and I enjoy working on them more than I ever did driving them. So that's, luckily it worked out that way.
That was just, we just kind of got a car just to run around somewhat as a hobby. And John left the car he was in and wanted to race more, and we weren't sure we could do it, but we just started with the thought of we'll go till we can't, and it went about 5 or 6 years. So
it just after I stepped out, a few years we went to the racetrack just to hang out with some people, and then we decided, well, we'll get a car and we'll just run a few times, 10, 15 times a year, and like I said, had different people. And then John had a free night and he got in it. We did good, and then something happened with his other team. We're like, well, we'll run as much as we can, but it's not going to be like you're used to, kind of thing. So, but then after we did as good as we did, it got to be full time pretty much. And so yeah, we were running a lot and won a lot with him, and it was a really good time.
And really, I mean, it's here at Bloomington, we tried forever the Sheldon Kinzer Memorial, and that race just, we were close a few times, led some laps a few times, but when he won that the first time, that was probably our biggest race, for me anyway.
We won some at Terre Haute, and with the Silver Crown car with the 56, we won at Eldora. So just races like that, at tracks like that, and then USAC races. We won a World of Outlaw race with Christopher Bell, and just races like that have some stature to them.
I think it was pretty much one race at a time, because there for a while we had one car, one motor, so we kind of knew if anything happened, we were done for a little bit, but we just rode it as long as we could.
We kind of went there with the attitude of, well, first we have to make the race, and then we'll go from there. We never did get ahead of ourselves, I don't think, and we like people would give us the feature win decals and try to give us a stack of them. Like, no, one at a time, because we got to earn it first before we get it. So I think we all went in with that attitude of, every night we could be beat and every night we could have a bad night. So we just went there just trying to do the best we could, and it ended up being pretty good.
It's good and bad. I love working with him and racing with him, but I'm sure, like Brad would say, it's awful nervous to watch him. So it's not a matter of you want him to have to win all the time. Just be safe and do the best he can do.
It is very rewarding to see him do something that he wanted to do, and plus to be a part of it, hands-on part of it. But it's way tougher watching him than ever driving. So that's the hardest part. I guess gotta step back and enjoy watching him without trying to get too nervous. But it's very hard to watch.
It's been a lot of years. I think my dad was probably 1965 or 66 with Bob, so we've made it a long way.
We just run as much as we can, and we'd like to branch out and run more USAC races. That takes time and takes money, but even running, if we could only run Bloomington, Putnamville every week, then that's fine too. But just being able to, for me and Steve and Brayden, to all do something together every weekend, that's pretty rewarding.